Welcome. Hello. I'm Annie Moyer from Sun and Moon Yoga Studio, and this is called Twist and Shout, mostly just twisting. And I really love the twisting part of the physical practice of yoga because for me, it really ties it all together in just the perfect way. And I'll get to that in a moment. Um, First thing I want to say, just in terms of physical practice, when we do a twisting practice, think about your spine as having a top half and a bottom half. The bottom half, sort of from the bottom of your rib cage and down to the tail, is made up of very large, chunky vertebrae that were not designed to rotate more than a few degrees to either side. However, once you get into above the lumbar spine, into the thoracic spine, where the vertebrae get smaller and smaller and smaller as they reach up into the neck and ending at the base of the skull, they are built to rotate much to a much higher degree. So just feel what you can do with your neck. You can't do that with your lower back. And if you tried, you'd be in for some trouble. So the goal in a twisting posture is to emphasize the twisting from the thoracic vertebrae up. So from the waist up. Emphasize the twisting that way, and then take whatever's below the waist and give a little activation in the opposite direction to ground the base of your spine and make a supported, healthy twist. And in terms of the philosophical underpinnings of the practice of twisting, I am really drawn to the meaning of the word in Sanskrit for twisting, and it's vritti. And there's a root that's VRT, vrit, that rolled R. And it means the fluctuations or the flip-floppings or the twistings and turnings, and usually referred to what's happening in the mind. And so the very first explicit teaching from the Yoga Sutras is Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. And it means that yoga is the cessation of the fluctuations of the mind. And so in my imagination, I think that the physical practice of yoga is intended to shift the shifting from the mind into the body so that we can then in turn wake up the stillness of the mind. So if you think about the ocean as an analogy, and our mind is living at the surface of the ocean, and we're getting thrown and shifted and splashed all the way around this continuous tumultuous existence at the top of the ocean, where the spray goes this way and that way, and the tide rolls in and the tide goes back out, and our minds are pulled by those droplets of water that are very scattered at the top. And in particularly tumultuous times, the best thing we can do is to take the mind after having moved the body a little bit. So we shift the shifting into the physical form and sink down, down and down and down. So we can wake up the stillness in the mental, the emotional, the energetic, and the spiritual form of ourselves. And if we bring ourselves down deep, close as we can get to the ocean floor, we haven't stopped the tumultuous waves from crashing at the surface, but we have not been pulled by them out of balance. And that's the work. And when the challenges are large, that's clearly the work. And when the challenges are small, that's also the work. So let's do some shifting of the physical form in the hopes that we can quiet and wake up some stillness in the mental, emotional, spiritual, and energetic form. All right, let's get started. So come to a comfortable seat. And feel your spine lifting nice and tall, and then rooting down nice and deep. So there's a grounding aspect to the base of the spine, and it's going to provide some healthy and active resistance to the way the upper part of the spine moves. And just feel into the full length of your central column, from the base of the skull all the way down to the base of the pelvis. And now, before we get into the twisting aspect of things, let's just wake up the spine on the front and the back and each side. So, on an exhale, round the spine so the midpoint goes back and you're scooping your sitting bones underneath you and rounding your shoulders forward. And then as you inhale, flip the curve. So the mid spine comes forward, the chest comes up, the gaze lifts, and the sitting bones flip back behind you, shoulders rolling back, squeezing in toward the spine. And then do that a few times with the rhythm of your breath. And see if you can distribute the movement all along that central column, so that there isn't one part of the spine that takes the force or the torque more strongly than any other part. An even distribution of movement and energy. Just as you seek an even distribution of breath, all the way in and all the way out. And now find yourself to a comfortable neutral place. And on an inhale, reach one arm up, take the other arm with fingertips out to the side, finding some steady surface. And then exhale, reach over to stretch sideways. A lateral stretch, opening up the side of the shoulder, the side of the chest and ribs, the side of the waist, the side of the hip. Everything opening in a lateral way. And then come back up. Ground the first hand that you raised and then lift the second one. Inhale, reach up, nice straight arm. Exhale, reach over sideways. And in the same way as we were rounding forward and back, we want an even distribution of the stretch all along the whole side, from the base of your hip to your fingertips above. And then switch sides again. Let your breath invite you to a rhythmic and smooth movement. Just like as if you were at the ocean floor. You would still feel the pulse of the tide, but it would feel rhythmic and smooth and not herky-jerky like the splashing waves above. Can we cultivate that feeling in the body? Can we be at ease even in a storm? And come back up and pause and sit tall. And so now we'll start to twist just at the neck by turning the head side to side. So your nose is drawing a line that is parallel to the horizon, just skimming that horizontal line. And you feel how much rotation naturally occurs in the cervical spine, in your neck. And then bring your head to center. And now we will draw that same line with the nose, except we're going to do it with the head tilted to one side. So tilt your head and don't untilt it, and create the same line. And now instead of going horizontal, instead of being parallel to the horizon, it's going to be diagonal to the horizon. So the nose turns down toward your shoulder, and then the nose draws a line diagonally up and away from that same shoulder. Notice if this opposite shoulder hunches up a little bit. Let it sink. Let it be at ease. Let everything be at ease that's not necessary to employ in whatever chosen movement you are enacting. Okay, now bring the nose to center and then lift the head up without scrunching or compressing on either side. Keep all that nice length in the sides of your neck and tip your head over to the other side. And then draw the opposite diagonal with your nose, up and away from the shoulder and down in toward it. Don't forget to check in with conscious breath, with an easy rhythm that's coming from the inside and that's seeking to synchronize with everything that you're experiencing on the surface. And then come back up to center, lifting the neck up and out from away from the shoulders as the shoulders are relaxing and sinking down away from the neck. Right. Now bring your hands to your shoulders and slowly begin to turn your elbows and your chest and your rib cage side to side. And so as we turn to one side with the top half of the torso, let the bottom half enact an intentional resistance in the opposite way. So the belly and the pelvis, they're not actually going to turn the opposite way, but they're going to attempt that as a way of stabilizing the base. And then once you get that movement set, you can go faster and faster without fear of harming anything or wrenching anything out of place because you have acclimated the lower half of your spine and your torso to maintain its steady ground as you set the upper half free. And then another action that you can create here is to bring awareness to your inner thighs. And without actually moving your legs, you can activate them as if they're trying to squeeze in toward each other. And then you might feel a nice lift at your sacrum, at the base of your spine. And go a little faster and a little faster. Keep the inner thighs squeezing in. Keep the belly and pelvis resisting the twist. And check in with your breath. And then slowly and slowly slow it down. Bring it back to center and release your arms down. And now switch the way your legs are crossed. Activate the inner thighs. Stabilize the pelvis and the lower belly, everything below the waist. As you inhale, reach your arms up. And exhale, twist to one side. Bring one hand behind you and the other one across your lap. So now again, upper half of the torso from the waist above is rotating to one side, and the belly and the pelvis are resisting the rotation back the opposite way. Notice if your back shoulder hunches up, invite it to let go. Invite it to sink a little further down away from the surface, and then you can turn your head and breathe. If you start to feel anything in the lower back or in the sacrum, ease up a little bit, activate your inner thighs, activate the inner lift, and activate the resistance of the belly and the pelvis in the opposite direction of the twist. And now on your next inhale, reach both arms up nice and tall and exhale to the other side. And recreate the same actions. Inner thighs drawing in as if they're trying to squeeze together. Belly and pelvis resisting the twist that's happening above by stabilizing the lower half of your torso. And then you can turn your head any way you like. Check in with your breath. Smooth out the edges of your inhales and exhales. Make easy transitions from one breath to the next. And then on an inhale, reach both arms up, turn forward, and then float the arms down. Okay. Come to your hands and knees in table pose. And once again, wake up the spine on the front and the back by simply rounding up like a rainbow and then arching the mid-spine down like a hammock and back and forth. Finding easy breath as you move. Make it fluid, make it rhythmic. And take the shifting, flipping, flopping nature of your mind, send it into the shifting power of your body so you can wake up mental, emotional, energetic, spiritual stillness. And then come back to neutral. And now take one hand and center it between, or right underneath your nose, between where your two handprints were. Take the other arm, reach it up, turn to one side. Remember to resist the twist with the belly and the pelvis facing down. And then take the raised arm and scoop it underneath you, shoot it out to the side, come down either onto your elbow, or if it's available, all the way down onto your shoulder and your head. And then take the other arm up or behind you or hand to your hip and breathe. So the twist is happening on the upper half of the torso from the waist above. The upper belly, the chest, the neck, the head all turning to one side as your lower belly and pelvis are resisting the turn to the opposite side. Find your inner thighs. Activate them as if they are going to squeeze together. And then release the hand that's above and put your palm right under your shoulder on the mat and press down to rise up. And now center the opposite hand, the one that was below before, right under your nose. Inhale, open up to the side. Exhale, scoop your arm underneath, shoot it out to the other side, stop on your elbow, or come all the way to your shoulder and your head. And then take the opposite arm behind you and breathe. Center the hips. Make sure that the belly and the pelvis are facing down, resisting the action of the twist in the part of the spine that was designed to do so. The part of the spine that was designed to rotate to this larger degree. Bring awareness to the shoulder that's on the top and lift it up away from the chest so you've got nice open space across the heart.
And then on the next breath, release the hand that's above. Place the palm squarely on the mat under your shoulder. Press down to give a rebound to raise yourself back up. All right. Now, take one leg straight back and put your pads of your toes on the mat. And now take the opposite arm and lift it up. So you're twisting the chest. So again, from the waist above, there is a rotation to the side. And from the waist below, there is a resistance in the opposite direction. Hold this for a few more breaths. And then release and do the other side. Stretch the leg back, pads of the toes on the mat, and then opposite arm reaches up, chest turns to the side, upper half of the torso twists, lower half resists. Here too, inner thighs activating as if they're squeezing toward each other is helpful to stabilize the lower back, the pelvis, to give the sacrum its buoyancy to raise energy up through the rest of the spine. One more breath, and then release the arm down. Now, go back to the first side, extend the leg back, grab the mat with the pads of the toes, take the opposite arm up. So I've got my opposite limbs extended. Now, take the top arm, draw a quarter circle forward as you lift the back leg and turn this into what some call a bird dog or hunting dog pose, an opposite limb balance. And then go back and forth. So drawing a quarter line, a quarter circle with the arm, and the back leg is just lifting up parallel and then dropping down to grab the mat with the toes. Breathing as you move. And then switch sides. Same thing. Lift up the arm, the opposite one of the leg that's behind you. Rotate the arm forward, lift the leg back to balance, and go back and forth between the two. Couple more times. And back to table pose. Tuck your toes, lift your hips, stretch your spine back into downward facing dog. And from dog pose, see if you can bring all of the arm weight into one arm, rooting through the widespread palm, and bring the rest of the body weight, the lower half of the body, down the legs into the feet. And now lift up one hand, reach it underneath you, and grab an outer thigh. Twisting dog. Upper half of the torso is turning to the side. Lower half, the belly and the pelvis, are squared forward in an act of grounding resistance. And then release. You can also do this with your knees down. So you can extend one arm forward into a puppy dog, reach the other arm underneath you. So it's similar to thread the needle, but the arm is extended. So you get more of a chest opening here. So try it on the other side. Tuck the toes, downward facing dog. Ground through the legs and the feet, and then root into the widespread palm of one hand. As you take the other arm underneath you, reach the opposite leg, look under your arm, turn your chest and your upper belly above the waist.
around to the side as the pelvis and the lower belly ground down to stabilize. Inner thighs are active, hugging toward the midline. Come out when you're ready and release. Take 1 or 2 or 3 breaths in child's pose. And then come up to stand. Stand at the front of your mat, palms together at the heart. Inhale, reach up nice and tall. Exhale, fold forward, just an easy breath out and an easy fold down. Lift up part way, climb your shoulders up onto your upper back. Exhale, release down. Inhale, reach all the way up. Hands together at your heart. Now bring your hands to your hips. And without controlling anything about your pelvis, just feel with your hands what happens as the pelvis turns very slightly while you step 1 foot back. So we're not asking it to do anything special, just stepping 1 foot back. So there's a little bit of a turn, lower belly and pelvis this way. Now take from the waist and the base of the ribs and up and turn them back the other way. And then bend your front knee, reach your arms up for warrior pose. Now we're going to keep the leg and foot position the same. Bring your arms down, hands to the hips for the moment. Straighten your front leg and take the hand that belongs to the back leg side and reach it up to the ceiling. And then fold forward until your torso is parallel to the floor. Pause. Right now, everything in the torso is facing down, squared to the ground. And then we're going to change that as we take the extended arm, drop it down onto the leg somewhere. And from the base of your ribs upward, twist toward the front leg side of your mat. If your shoulder on the top has climbed far enough above so it's standing above the bottom shoulder, then you can unfurl your top arm. And here we are in revolved triangle pose. If the shoulder is hovering forward and the arm is way back behind the shoulder, like I'm demonstrating here, then instead bring your hand to your waist and just focus on lifting the shoulder. So the twist focusing on the upper half, and especially in the high in the chest. Now face the ground again. Root into the legs and feet, rise up tall, and step forward. And then bring the other foot back with your hands on your hips. Feel that gentle turn of the pelvis and the lower belly. And then even it out to twist from the waist, the bottom of the ribs, upward to turn forward. Bend the front knee. Reach your arms up. Nice, tall, strong, courageous warrior with an open heart and outstretched arms and long, slow breaths. And then release your hands to your waist, straighten the front leg, fold forward. Pause while everything is facing square to the ground. Pelvis, low belly, upper belly, ribs, chest, neck, face. And then take the arm
that belongs to your back leg, reach it forward, and then drop the hand down. And then spin from above the waist to the side. Find out where this top shoulder is. And if it has turned enough to make it easy and smooth to reach your arm above, then do that. Alternatively, keep the hand on the hip and keep spinning the upper chest. Inner thighs drawing together, even as your feet are rooting down and outer edges of the feet actioning as if they're spreading apart. All ways to stabilize the balance in this pose. Another breath. And release. Root into the legs and feet. Rise up with control and step forward. And now take the feet apart wide so you're facing the long side of your mat. Make your feet parallel to each other. And fold forward and reach your arms down, hands on something, the floor, a chair, blocks, the side of a piece of furniture. And then twist gently side to side. Inhale as you're reaching up. Exhale, reaching down. Continue. And notice where in your torso you're feeling the twist. Notice where in the torso, in the pelvis, and the hips you feel stable. One more time to each side. And now from here, hop, step, or jump, or sashay your feet together. Bend your knees. Climb your hands onto your thighs. Lift your torso through the chest. The shoulder blades climbing up onto your back, squeezing toward your spine. Heart facing forward and out. And then bring your elbows to your thighs. Hands together at your heart. Take one elbow, open it up like a wing flap, and then take the other elbow and cross it to your other thigh. So you're twisting here. And then take the top elbow flap, bring it down, and walk your elbows around to the other thigh. Lift up the flap and turn the chest, turn the ribs, but keep the belly and pelvis stable facing down. Side to side, one or two more times. You may feel the work happening in your inner thighs. Add breath when necessary, deeper, slower. Even out your sides. And then fingertips to the floor, straighten your legs, hang your head. Keep your hands on something if the bones of your spine are vulnerable, and or grab your elbows and sway the hips side to side. Separate your feet a little bit, come to squat, and you can support your knees here and your hips by sitting on something, a block or a chair or some side of a piece of furniture, hands together, and we'll just pause here at center. And then land your seat on the floor and extend your legs out in front of you. Pause here. Heels of the palms down on the ground or the mat. Lift up the chest. Bend one knee. Hug it with the opposite arm. Lift the other arm up. Inhale. Exhale, twist. And then reach up and turn forward.
and switch legs. So root the sitting bones down. Belly is forward. Pelvis is neutral. Opposite arm hugs the knee. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, twist. Belly didn't move. Pelvis didn't move. Rib cage moved, rotating to the side. Neck rotating to the side. Head turning. But the lower half is stabilizing, resisting the rotation to keep everything safe, steady. To shift the shifting from the mind into the body so we wake up the stillness in the mind, in the heart, in the breath, in the spirit. Reach up, release the twist, and lie down. Start with your knees bent, feet on the floor. And then pull the knees to the chest. And drop both knees over to one side. This will be the last twist. Turn your head the opposite way of the knees. And then bring the knees up, pause at center, and then take the knees to the other side. Turn the chest opposite, turn the head opposite, and breathe. And then bring the knees back up to center. And pause, hugging the knees into the chest, and then circle them around a few times. And the other direction. And then just anything you'd like to finish out this short practice. So you can stretch out into Shavasana, straightening the legs. You can stay here for another few breaths with your knees bent. Or you can roll up to sit. And take some quiet moments for meditation. See what sort of stillness you've been able to wake up in your heart and mind and breath and spirit. See how the body has responded to the wakefulness of the shifting capabilities of your spine. And whenever you are ready, I invite you to close out your own practice with palms together, having a moment of gratitude for all that is well, having a moment of compassion for all that isn't well, and having a moment of quiet peace, even in the midst of any storm. Thank you. Namaste.